Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our 11:11. We appreciate you tuning in and just being a part of the last series of times we've been together. It's been really exciting, and it won't be any different today. We appreciate Cindy Long from Johnny Amoki in Salem being here today, and she's going to talk about some real information that we need to know. And it's all wrapped around preparation, right, Cindy?
Candy, yes.
Candy. I did it on purpose because she told me not to get her name wrong.
He did, that's true. So yes, my name is Candy, and I am a funeral service intern at John Amoki and Son Funeral Home in Salem. So June 1st marks my 1 year, my birthday, as
Congratulations.
being a full-time funeral service professional at John Amoki. So I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
You're welcome.
And some of the things that I'm going to share with you today is what happens. We call it the duty list. The things that have to be done when the death of a loved one occurs. I know sometimes the tendency or the feeling would be to just kind of pull the covers over your head and not face the day. But the reality is there are indeed some things that need to be done. So we strive at John Amoki to make our funeral home as welcoming as possible during very difficult times. And we welcome families to come in and prepare services that will be a true celebration of their loved one and be a reflection of the people that they were. So, interruption?
Yeah, interruption. Cindy, now just to let our audience know, what you say today can be applied to other funeral homes?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think in general terms, all of these things that, you're going to file for a death certificate. There's life insurance. There's pre-needs. There's all across, funeral service. Absolutely.
Good. Thank you for that.
Of course. So when you come into an arrangement, one of our professionals is going to sit with you and talk you through, the death certificate. You're going to receive at our funeral home a packet, and I'm sure most funeral homes do this, of information, because in all reality, we understand that you may not remember much of what is spoken about, because it is a difficult time. So when you come, you're going to need things like vital information. So when we file for a death certificate, you're going to need information that you would find on a birth certificate, such as, the father's full name, the mother's full name, including a maiden name. And you've got to have that information for us to file. You will need the Social Security card, because the name on the Social Security card is what will be, what we'll file, because we also notify Social Security for you, so that is not something that you have to do. And that goes on the death certificate as well.
Well, Candy, do you think that one thing's more important than other, or does when someone comes in and they sit down with you or anybody at funeral, is it at any point, if they don't have certain information, does that stop the process?
It does not stop the process. It can hold the process up if the information is in error.
Okay.
So if there is a middle name that is different, or a junior on there, or something that may look different on the Social Security card, it could indeed hold that process up. And the information on the death certificate has got to be as correct as possible, because it's a government document, and it does take an affidavit to have it changed. So it's better to get it right the first time.
And that's why a doctor has to sign off on the death certificate? Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly. So it is quite a process.
All right. Well, just continue on with your process.
So we kind of are to some degree led by the family. Sometimes, it's better to get that vital information out of the way, and just get that taken care of. But sometimes families may want to talk a little bit, and we want to get to know the family. We want to get to know their loved one. So we may, talk through the obituary. That's an important thing. We try to, even if a family does not choose to publish an obituary in the local newspaper, we still like to have an obituary on our website with that information. And, we will help a family put together an obituary, or we may edit. I personally like to encourage families to write their own obituaries to some degree, because who knows your loved one better than you?
Right.
I'm happy to, kind of tweak it a little bit and put that funeral home spin on it, on the obituary, but your loved one better
Right.
than I do.
Right.
Better than I do.
Right.
So the obituary clothing is important. If you bring clothing to the arrangement, especially if you will be choosing a casket that day, bring your clothing so you know that you're not, I hate to say clashing, I guess. The colors match up. If mom wanted a pretty pink casket, you might want clothing to reflect that and match a little better.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know oftentimes that when I've been with families and worked with families as we went into the funeral home, I know that they always look at me and say, I don't know what I'm doing. And when they look at me and say that, I said, no worry, the funeral director that you're meeting with will take you step by step through it. And is that a process that you do?
It is a process. I'm a list maker by nature. I was a school teacher once upon a time. I'm a list maker, so to go down the list so you don't forget things, we do have a checklist that we go through, and so we don't forget service details and things. So yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any of that list with you that you could share, or from your mind that you could share with them to kind of just help them understand something about the list?
I do. So on that, what we call our director's worksheet, and it just kind of keeps us from, we have worksheets for just about everything, and it keeps us accountable more than anything. You get one chance for a funeral. You're not going to get another chance, so you absolutely, it's the truth. So we want to make sure that we do it right the first time, and we don't want to forget anything. We want to make sure that families don't forget anything as well. So our obituary worksheet is drawn up that way. Our director's worksheet is drawn up that way as well. So we have sections of, did you complete every step of the death certificate? Did you complete every step of just preparation? All of those things. And we absolutely do use a checklist.
Now, do prearrangement, do they go over that with you during a prearrangement if you're going to prearrange your funeral, or is that something only done upon death?
So we do prearrangements, and in fact, I would encourage families 100% to tell your loved ones, to share with your loved ones what your final wishes would be. We've seen families come in that have no idea because they've never talked about it. They've never talked about it as a family. Even if you don't come in and officially make prearrangements, I would encourage you to share with your family what you would like, whether you would want to be traditionally buried or a cremation, things like that. Those things are important. What kind of, maybe, you want a service at your church, or maybe you would be content to have a service, in a pavilion. Those sorts of things are important to know.
So if I come in other words, you're going to be able to tell me what's legal and not what's legal, or is it pretty much up to the family, or is there anything there that needs to be understood when it comes to what we can do and what we can't do?
Well, we try to accommodate families for the most part. We don't get a lot of strange, I guess, things, if that's what you're asking. Most families, are going to do a fairly traditional service as far as the legality of things. I don't know that there's...
Well, what I was referring, my brother is a Star Wars nut, and he's going to be buried in Captain Kirk's uniform. Okay. And he's going to be buried in a Star Wars casket.
I love that.
That's what he's going to do.
I love that. I love, and one of my favorite things about funeral service is to just memorialize a family's loved one in things that are personal to them. And if they played in a band, we want to use their music, for the service or for the visitation. Like you said, a uniform, whether it's a military uniform or whether it's Boy Scouts or Star Wars,
Right.
that personalizes a service for a family, and I think that's really important.
Right.
I really do. And while we're talking about military, that's another one of those vital documents. When you come into an arrangement, if your loved one served in the military, thank you, by the way, we need that DD-214. We need
Yep.
those discharge papers in order to provide military honors, in order to provide a military marker. We need those forms.
Is there a cost for military honors, or is that an honorarium?
That's an honorarium.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, we will, if they are an honorably discharged veteran or reservist, then they are indeed entitled to those military honors. And we'll do
Great.
that.
Great. So after the obituary, and we got everything down on the obituary, how do we get into the fine stuff when we start talking about money? Is that just determined by what they want?
So we try to read the family. We don't ask specifically about money, but as we're talking about services that families would like, then in our minds we're beginning to put together a contract that by the end of our arrangement appointment will be signed by both the director and the family that we're serving. So it's of course we try to be good stewards of families and their finances as well. We try to be very mindful of that. But as we're going through talking about services, we're putting a contract together in our mind and then on paper.
Do y'all offer different prices, or is it the different prices are dictated by what they want in the service or what they use, the product
Sure.
they use?
Sure. So one of the very first things when you walk into a room, into an arrangement appointment, is we are by law required to share the general price list. That is required by the Federal Trade Commission. We may not look at it until the end of the appointment.
Okay.
However, we want it on the table and accessible if we begin talking about services. And we do have packages that, we can always itemize things. We can always itemize if maybe, you don't want a guest book, but you want memorial folders. We can itemize little things like that. But generally, all of these things fall into one package or another. It could be, if it's a cremation service, a gathering of friends, or it could be a traditional, chapel service or a church service. And of course, the prices are reflected based upon staff that's needed or the location, vehicles that are needed. You're not going to need the same vehicles maybe for a cremation service that you would need for a traditional burial.
Right.
So those things are reflected in contractual prices.
Well, that's good. What is it that that from the bottom of your heart, as many as you have went through and you saw, what is to you one of the most important things beside the obituary? What do you think that is more important for a family to understand, even before or even after they get through with everything?
Sure. So walking with a family, we are kind of beginning that journey, that grief journey with families. And we are so aware that is a very, very difficult journey to walk through. And that first year, we talk about the year of first, that first Christmas, that first Valentine's Day, that first birthday without their loved one. We are so very much aware of that. But I think in my heartbeat, I want my families to know that I serve, that we're still here. We're still here. There's going to be questions, down the road. Maybe it's an insurance question. Maybe it's, I don't know what to do about this. Maybe, I can help refer you to Aftercare. Aftercare is very important. That community and that connection with other people that are going through the same thing. So just because services are over and, you completed the contract. We've completed our contract with you, and likewise, we're still here. Call
Well, you know,
us.
I like to kudos y'all for that, because so often families think it's a one and done thing, that after the service is over and you walk away with the blue or whatever color the bag is and all the information, that it's over with. But no, y'all go further than that, and that's
We do.
important.
We're not going to wave you down at Walmart and love on you, but we absolutely are still here.
Right, right. Well, you know, I think that you've answered a lot of important questions. But in closing, what do you think about everything in general? Just I know that's a broad question, but as working and, you know, getting your license and doing the things that you do and working with families, and I know that when I, as a pastor, am with a family, they're my whole focus. And because there's nobody else in that room but them, because they're the ones going through that problem. And I know that sometimes at a funeral home, you got maybe 5 or 6 families waiting. So how do you weigh that out? How do you get that to where it properly needs to be?
Right. So balance, I guess.
Yeah.
It is important for families to know that maybe they're not our only family that week, but they do have our focus. They do have our attention, and we are going to absolutely do our best to serve that family to the utmost. Some families, you know, some services require, you know, more. Some services seem easier than others, and some services may require more. But regardless, you know, they have our attention, our
Right.
focus, absolutely. And I say too, you know, when I share, I said I was a school teacher prior to this. You know, people ask me, what in the world? You know, that's quite a change. That's quite a change. It is, but it isn't. You know, it's still serving. It's still teaching. It's still, you know, loving and ministering to those that we serve.
And if someone wanted to come by the funeral home and get one of these packets, you see what Candy brought with her today. If somebody wanted to get that packet, and even though nothing's happened, is that available?
So I send out, this is not a prearrangement packet, but there are families that are interested in beginning the process of prearrangements, and I would encourage you to get in touch with us, get in touch with your local funeral home, maybe another funeral home in the valley that your family has been, you know, served by, and ask for that information. A prearrangement packet includes several little books, but there's a lot of fill in the blanks, you know, so you can begin to write things down, think through things and write things down for your family for later on. You know, if you don't have an official prearrangement in a file cabinet at a funeral home, your family can still utilize the information that is in those books.
Right, right. Well, you know, I think that Candy's gave us the right steps to go, the proper steps to go, and that is make a phone call. You can even mail them something.
You can email me or email us at the funeral home or give us a call. I'll mail out one of these with that information. So that would be, it's really helpful for your family. If I can say anything going through this first year of arrangements with families, I would say absolutely share with your loved ones what your final wishes would be, because it's a difficult thing to do at the time of need.
Good, good. Well, I appreciate Candy coming and being a part of our 11:11 this morning and all this great information. And next week, we're kind of drawing a conclusion, and Dave's going to be here talking about the myths that funeral homes have to answer sometimes that aren't true.
You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, and you'll laugh and have a good time. So I hope you'll tune in next Friday for our 11:11. And Candy, thank you so much in your time here in your career. I know this is a big move.
It's a change, but I love it. It's my heartbeat.
But in closing, anything you'd like to share in closing?
I just thank you for having us, and I can say on behalf of our staff, we love partnering with you and things like this.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I hope y'all have a great weekend and look forward to seeing you as we walk around the campus and rub shoulders together. Have a great day.
Take care.